Now let's go ahead and take a quick look at the data just to be clear at what we're pulling in. I'm going to jump to my script directory where I have my test.php file, and I also have my data.txt file. I'm going to open up that one. Now you see here we have 3 lines. We have George, Sally, and Deepak. So the first time around in this for each loop, the name is going to be George. Let's go ahead and jump back to the code here. So we're saying the item array that has the key of the word name equals the trimmed value of George. Now again, the reason why we're trimming it is because there could be spaces to either side of the data divider, which for a comma-separated value list is a comma. So again, item name equals George. And then we have more items in this array, so we're going to loop through one more time. This time the key is 1, and the value, let's go ahead and jump back to our data file here, is 1972. Let's go ahead and jump back to the code. So in this next line, the key will be 1 because it's the second item in the array, and the value of array labels with the key of 1, let's go ahead and scroll down and see what that is. It's going to be birth year. Now again, we loop through name. This next one is birth year. Let's go ahead and scroll back up. And so this time we have item birth year equals the trimmed version of the value, which is 1972. Now we still have more data, so let's go ahead and look at that text file again. The next item is going to be the cure, and it's going to have a key of 2. Again, it's 0, 1, 2. Let's go ahead and jump back to the code. So this time the key is 2, and the value is going to be the cure. So the value of the array labels array with a key of 2, let's go ahead and scroll down and see what that's going to be. It's going to be favorite band. Again, 0, 1, 2. So favorite band, and then I'm going to scroll back up again. So now item with a key of favorite band equals the cure that's been trimmed to make sure that there's no spaces on either side of it. And now there's one more item in this array to loop through. Let's go ahead and look at the data one more time. This time it's going to be 10, which is the shoe size, and this has an index of 0, 1, 2, 3. So it should have an index of 3. Let's go ahead and jump back to the code. So this time we're going to have a key of 3, and the value of array labels with a key of 3, let's go ahead and scroll down to see what that is. Now here's our array labels array again. We have 0, 1, 2, 3. So shoe size should be the key. I'm going to go ahead and scroll back up again. So we have item with a key of shoe size equals the trimmed value of 10, which is that data that we're pulling out from the data file. At this point, we've gone through every item in this array, which means that the for each loop is done, and we're going to move to this next line. This next line is really simple. What we're doing is simply adding item into a multi-dimensional array called items. We're not providing any key here, so a numbered key will be automatically generated for it. So this first time through, we're going to have an items array with a key of 0, and then the value here, item, is an associative array that includes keys that correspond to the labels that we pass through array labels, and then the value corresponds to the data. Let's go ahead and add a var dump after this line just to see the structure of the data at this point, because this logic is probably pretty hard to follow. It certainly is difficult to explain. And whenever you start to feel like that, it's probably a good time to break it down into smaller parts and see how the individual pieces are working. So let's go ahead and add a var dump here, and I'm going to pass the items variable to it. I'm also going to wrap the die command around this in order to make sure to kill the script at this point so we can clearly see this variable without any of the other output displaying. So I'm going to jump back to the browser here, and I'm going to refresh, and then I'm going to look at the source code. So at the top level here is our items array. Inside of this array, we have just one item so far. If we let the script run through, we'd have an item in this items array for each entry inside of our data.txt file. Each one of these items in the array has a key. This one has a key of name and a value of George. We have a key of birth year and a value of 1972, a key of favorite band and a value of the cure, and shoe size and 10. Now again, all of these keys were passed through the array labels parameter, and all of these values came from our data.txt file. So you may have noticed at this point that we've made a slight change to this array as it compares with our previous example. In our previous example, we used the name as the key for each item in this array, but because we're trying to build this function to be data agnostic, that is, we don't care what data is passed to it, we don't want to assume the key is going to have a certain data. So instead, we're just setting numeric keys automatically, and we're adding the name at the same level as our other data that we're pulling out from our data file. Okay, let's go ahead and go back to the code. I'm going to go ahead and remove this debugging line here. And now at the end of this function, we return all of the items. Now again, this items array will contain an entry for every line inside of our data.txt file. So let's go ahead and jump back to the code where we run this function parse data file. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down here. So again, we supplied our data file, we assigned our labels to the array labels variable, and then we ran parse data file. When that's done, it returns the value to the items variable here.